You have often told yourself that you need to become a better person, or maybe you have been told. Whether it's your parents, friends, or acquaintances. But how do you figure out the line of how much you need to become better? Better than the person who is telling you that. How do you figure out how good you are right now? Maybe you need to become better. But what do you need to become better at? You probably need to make a lot of money. That makes sense. But I think you've noticed how much you criticize people who have achieved great heights, and you really want that. Well, do you have an answer to that? Of course, yes. Who doesn't want to be rich and successful? And herein lies the main trap of public opinion, because in essence, it is to be a set of laws, rules, and standards that most people find acceptable. If you do not want to become an outcast, be kind, observing them. Here, at first glance, it is not such a bad thing. A real man should be strong, pumped up, motivated, active, exactly what you need to survive in a tough environment. That's why most people go to gyms, so that people around them see them as strong and disciplined, and girls want to be beautiful, feminine, and well-groomed. After all, these are the traits that strong men used to choose their life companions. And when society began to grow and evolve, there were many different rules by which people anskuskiviyut each other. And that's okay. You don't drive drunk. You don't use force to take something from a weaker person. You're always tidy, and so much more. And for the most part, these are all rules that are justified and really needed. Not always, but most of the time. But now we come to the second component that is becoming dominant. Our time is the marketing component. Do you think it is difficult for a whole country to be run by one person? Of course it is easy, because it has police, courts, army. But how to manage a whole society of people is somehow bigger than the army plus the police. Let's conditionally take the figure of 500,000 people. That would be us, the police plus the army. And if we take into account that the same people serve there, and in case of a general revolt, they will not want to go against their relatives, friends, and acquaintances, it becomes clear that the management with a position of strength. Well, if you're not. North Korea, you simply will not succeed. And to understand what is the marketing side of social opinion, I will give you an example. You may have often heard this opinion. Didn't serve in the military, not a man. Or, how long can you be a girl? Find yourself a husband. It's a familiar phrase, isn't it? And a lot of people follow that advice. But do they really want to? You see, the marketing side of social opinion is a huge, multi-level apparatus for controlling masses of people. It usually comes directly from the powers that be, or from large private companies. Raza did not serve, nor man was introduced into social opinion only for the purpose of constant historical wars of conquest waged by different countries. And, as practice has shown, social opinion is the most effective way to send a man to risk his life for the ambitions of fucked up people from big offices. That's why military people so appreciate all these awards and medals, because in itself it's just iron, but behind them is the most important perception of men as the strongest and most courageous. A phrase for stop being a girl. These are all also ideas from the power to socialize. Societies, where the country just needs to increase the birth rate so that more people worked in factories, paid taxes, and thus developed the country. After all, for a huge country and the individual, with his problems and difficulties, is maximally invisible. They look at numbers and statistics. The birth rate has increased. So, we are doing everything right, and the idea is not new on the surface. But why do most people follow this trend? It's very simple, isn't it? All these ideas parasites are evolutionary pillars on which the public opinion is formed in the society, and every year it displeases them. After all, the army is associated with the development of boys into men. They develop your strength and develop discipline. And the creation of a family and the continuation of the family is the main evolutionary purpose of man, which was laid out in simple cells millions of years ago, and the optimization of this process and led us to where we are. Now and in all this, the woman plays a major role because for her, it is a huge stress. That's why all these ideas have been accepted in public opinion, because we have all these processes inherent in nature. But each of these ideas is evolving. About one simple question, why? And if you ask yourself this question more often, everything will fall into place. In ancient times, a man had to be strong. For what? To survive, to protect his woman, to protect his offspring, because danger surrounded him every day. And also, there was no medicine for the woman either. Pregnancy after 25 carried a huge threat to life, so there was a perfect bundle. It was a strong and healthy man and a young woman who fought as a real team for their survival and continuation of the species. But what we have now is that man's strength is no longer the main stat. Intelligence and strength of character are important now, and girls can give birth at almost any age. It is recorded that the oldest mother in the world was at the age of 73, and this was possible thanks to modern medicine. That is why the question is so important here. Why? Why go to war? Why have as many children as possible and as early as possible? Why do we need a $10,000 watch? Why do we need a $4,000 bag? And this is where the summary of the video ends and the main part begins. A little earlier I talked about the influence of big corporations on public opinion. Society is not interested in you standing out and reaching the pinnacle of success, because by doing so, you will leave them behind. So you either play by their rules, or you go against them and risk losing your place in this society. And those who take this decisive step, in case of success, reach greater heights. Public opinion in itself is not a bad thing, or good. It is an evolutionary phenomenon that is shaped by the environment and with the people themselves. It cannot be eradicated, but only changed. Remember, with the development of the internet, what a boom there was. The development of different freaks. People did not want to associate themselves with them, but at the same time they very closely observed the activities of people who simply put a bolt on public opinion and what society did. It just transformed itself. And now frick on the internet is a common image, not standing out in any way. After all, after the success of the units appeared thousands and just disappeared the very wow effect. And if you think that people around you in society care about you and your health, then why do we have allowed the sale of alcohol, cigarettes, allowed the sale of fatty food, which slowly kills a person? Why do supermarkets constantly switch products? Is it because society and socium does not look at each person as an individual? It looks at numbers and statistics, and most importantly, their goal is to show as high as possible. Growth figures, ES. On one hand, it is the engine of progress, but on the other hand, we have many areas of our lives. To the lady is simply manipulative, which makes us afraid of our desires and kills any desire to achieve our personal goals, giving us instead alcohol, empty food like burgers from McDuck and foods from the supermarket whose purpose is to give us easy access to pleasure, without paying attention to what kind. The harm this will do to our health and our psyche. So you must realize that public opinion cannot be defeated, but your goal is to develop the ability to understand public opinion and balance between common sense and insanity. And then you will be able to achieve success in your endeavors. But this is already a topic for a separate video, so thank you all and see you soon. I also want to remind everyone that I regularly launch streams. We're oriented around 8 o'clock in the evening. We have a Lamp Pavaya atmosphere there, good community. We watch videos, socialize, play different games, so until soon I will be glad to see all posts.